You're listening to Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian, and folks, this is episode 253 of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. If you're new here, this is a podcast where we talk about gravel bikes, adventure biking, bikepacking, bike camping, or just playing bikes. Tonight, in this episode, I'm joined by Travis Olson of GRUSK, and Travis and I have a great conversation about GRUSK, where it came from, where it's going, what this year's going to look like, as well as a tour he is putting together in Italy where you'd get the opportunity to see the grand depart of the Tour de France and 3 stages of the Tour de France, all while riding your bike. That is amazing. Absolutely just a tremendous thing. And Travis, we had a great conversation about that. Before we get to all that, I got some great discount codes over in the show notes. Make sure to go check them out. And because Travis and I talked for so long, I'm going to go ahead and dive into the Strava Club. And I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do 10, 20, and 30. Last week, number 10 rider Rick Marzano, 252 miles. Good job, Rick. In slot 20, Kiki Martin, 228.1 miles. I hope I got that name right, Kiki. If I didn't, send me a note, let me know. And in 30th spot, R. Wilson, 200.8 miles. And I should say the name is R. Wilson and then Chickenhead. So he's figured out a way, or she has figured out a way, they have figured out a way to put an emoji in their Strava name. So fantastic. I love that. I apologize, folks, for missing a week, missing an episode. That doesn't happen very often over here. I finally got bit by the COVID bug last week, and Travis and I were supposed to have a conversation last week about GRUSK and all of the great things happening there and in Italy and the weekend that we're collaborating on, but it just didn't happen because I was under the weather in a big, big way. Strava Club this week is up to 997 members. That means we are 3 members away from Joey shaving off of his beard and me growing a mustache, and I'm not exactly sure which one of those is going to be more frightening. In fact, I may actually convince Joey to not do that, but I will grow double mustache. Maybe I'll grow some big like handlebar mustache or big mutton chops or something like that, because I'm not sure I want to see Joey without a beard. I will take the hit for the team on that one. If you're looking for the Strava Club, strava.com/clubs/gravel, travel, and dirt. And to break into the top 100 last week, you needed 120.4 miles. So everybody, welcome to spring. Welcome to the time change. This is the first episode we'll have dropped here in 2024 after the time change, which I think is, for a lot of folks, it's difficult to ride the bike after work until this time change kicks in. So I'm looking for a big shift next week in the Strava Club. I'm looking for the mileage to pop up, because now folks will have that opportunity to dive out of work early, a day or two a week, and get some miles in. So stick around for this conversation with Travis. All right, joining me now, Travis Olson from GRUSK. He's also of Italy fame with Tour de France. I think he's racing the Tour de France this year. And we're also doing our little collaboration over in Pennsylvania outside of West Virginia. Travis, thank you for joining me here tonight. I appreciate it.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're like this. I actually searched in my Google Drive in my notes, because I'm like that. I keep all of my show notes from all of my previous episodes. So I searched to see when the last time we were here, and I got so many hits. I think it's because we just talked about you so much, because I opened up 2 or 3 of the show notes, and it wasn't an episode that you were on. It was just we were talking about GRUSK, and Travis Olson's name was in there, so I gave up. I just gave up. But you've been
count too. It's been maybe 6 or 7. I've been very fortunate to be invited back, so thank you.
You're one of those ones that we officially have lost count on, and don't care to count anymore. So it's fine. We'll just keep having you back as many times as you want to come talk about playing bikes. So that works for me. So folks that don't know you, that may be listening into this podcast, Travis is the proprietor of Mountain Rides, and Mountain Rides does a whole bunch of things, but probably I'd say the meatloaf, because you had meatloaf for dinner. The meatloaf of Mountain Rides is GRUSK. Would that be correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we started the company Mountain Rise, but it's
Okay.
since grown into a little bit more. But GRUSK is our bread and butter.
Okay. Well, let's start with GRUSK then. How many years now is it for GRUSK?
This is the seventh
Okay.
year. You ask me this every time, and I lose count every time. So
Uh,
it might be eight, it might be seven. COVID screwed me up, but it's quite a few. We're approaching 10,
got
so
it. Got it.
we're stoked about that.
That makes sense. I mean, honestly, no, numbers are weird with COVID because every event director, they have that same kind of like head scratch. It's like, well, if you count this year or that year, or if you don't count the COVID year, or maybe whatever, it's kind of like everybody's a little up in the air with that.
Yep.
Um, what was the genesis of GRUSK? Let's back up one step. GRUSK
Yeah,
stands for Gravel Ride up Spruce Knob. No longer gravel race, but gravel ride up Spruce Knob. Where'd it come from?
that's right. So a bunch of rides with buddies and some beers and bad ideas, and that's usually the genesis of every gravel event that
We
I've heard. But
we call that the Redmer effect.
yeah, yeah, Ted has a lot to do with that. I'm sure if I would have known Ted, he would have been all over the rides. I used to host a New Year's Eve ride up Spruce Knob
Okay.
way before. This is like 2010, 2011, so way before GRUSK was started in 2016. But we rode down there a lot, and it was always in the most horrible conditions you can imagine, up on top of the mountain in winter with freezing cold, ice, snow, you name it, and a lot of underdressed roadies. So
And probably underbiked for what they were riding too, if I had to venture
Well,
a guess.
yeah, I mean, 35 mil. I mean, we were all on cyclocross bikes if we were lucky. A lot of guys just rode the road bikes. That's just how it was then, or mountain bikes, of course, if the snow was deep.
Right.
But that's how it started. So a lot of conversations, and my good friend Jason Salmons, who now lives in Texas, we rode up in July for his birthday, and did a nice loop on Spruce Knob, and that's where it really got the genesis. It was like, wow, it'd be nice to have a race or an event in the summer because it's so cool
Mm,
and the riding is so nice up there in the summer when everything else is sweltering. We'll go up to Spruce Knob above 4,000 feet and have a good time. So that's how GRUSK got started, and it's grown every year since then. Really by word of mouth. I don't do a ton of advertising for it, but I strive to put on the most quality event that I can,
nice.
um, in
Nice.
that remote area of the Mon National Forest, and so far I think it's working.
And I can attest to the cool temperatures in early July at the top of Spruce Knob. That is, I think, one of the draws for me. I always get a kick out of climbing up there, and it's because you camp so high too. When
Hmm.
if you do GRUSK right, now I'll put this out there: if you do GRUSK right, you will pay the $15 and you will camp. You will come out on Friday afternoon, park your whatever, set up a tent, whatever you need to sleep in a field, ride that race on Saturday, and then stick around Saturday night for festivities and fun, and then muddle your way along on Sunday. That in my opinion is the best way to do GRUSK.
Yeah, and that's our preferred way, of course, and that's really how we started it in 2016. We rented the venue for an extended weekend, and we invited folks to come up Friday night and camp in the big high meadows. And those meadows, like you said, they're above 4,000 feet, and they're expansive, with views down into Virginia toward Monterey, and you can actually see the summit profile of Spruce Knob from where you camp. It's really a unique venue, especially starting that high. Um, but that's exactly the way we like to see people take on the weekend is come camp, bring your camper, whatever you want to do, and spend the weekend and enjoy the beverages and the band afterwards, and just dance and party until you're sleepy, then go hit the tent.
Now, GRUSK sent me down a rabbit hole. Have I ever told you this story that GRUSK sent me down a rabbit hole? I,
No.
I, one of the years I can't remember which was maybe in the first year that I came up to do it. I have always been sort of like the ground tent bike packing is my thing. And so all these guys with sleeping off the ground, I was like, I'm going to try this. So I bought myself one of those tents that goes into the bed of your pickup. And I got a little pickup. I got a little Tacoma, a little short bed Tacoma. And I enjoyed so much being off the ground that I have gone down the rooftop tent rabbit hole. And I had one, and then I've put it on the bed of my truck. And I've gone to the next iteration now where I've actually taken the rooftop tent off of the bed of the truck, and I've set up a trailer, and I've flipped the axles, and I have done all the things to put the racks on it, to put the tent up on the trailer so that it's a thing with the rooftop tent where you're kind of tied to the vehicle, so to speak, whereas with it on a trailer, you can kind of roll it into a place, set it up, and then roll away in your truck. So you sent me, I blame you and Joey.
Well, I'm glad to help in that maybe bad, but maybe brilliant decision. I think that's great. I can't wait to see this thing.
Yeah,
it sounds amazing.
It's been a lot of fun to tinker with and play with, and my number one rule when I was setting up the trailer was it's got to be able to go into the field at GRUSK. It's got to be able to do that, and flipping the axle and overspringing the axle and all that stuff kind of lifted it up. So it's in a good way. I'm not going four wheeling with it. I'm not going overlanding with it. It's still a fixed axle, but it's it'll handle a field. It'll handle a field. So before we talk about the routes at Spruce Knob and the distances and all the ins and outs of all of that, let's talk about the venue. Let's talk about, describe for us where it is and what that weekend encapsulates from Friday all the way through Sunday. What's it look like?
Okay, so the venue, it's a 500-acre private or nonprofit in-holding within the Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia. It's a huge national forest. So this nonprofit organization called Experience Learning has a venue on top of Spruce Knob, in addition to some other properties around the area. But this one's called the Spruce Knob Mountain Center, obviously named after Spruce Knob, the highest peak in West Virginia. And they graciously let us bring in 1,000 of our closest friends, about 500 to 600 racers, we hope, and their family and friends and hangers-on to come hang out. So it's above 4,000 feet, like I mentioned earlier, on the western, like the southwestern flank of Spruce Knob. So we're really high up. So you have those amazing expansive views when you're camping, and you get all the crazy fog when the weather's a little crazy. But it's really a unique place to have a bike race. And what makes it really set apart from other venues is, the structures were built back in the early 1970s, and they're based on Mongolian yurts. So they've built 3 of them, and one of them is, I think, one of the largest freestanding yurts. It's not in the world, but at least in America, definitely West Virginia, definitely Spruce Knob. But I don't want to hang myself out there too far with these big claims of world record yurts. But
no, that. Nobody listens to us. Go ahead, just go. All the claims are good.
If you've been to GRUSK, you know how unique and cool those are.
Yeah.
And it's really just part of the whole atmosphere when you get there. Recently, they built an indoor-outdoor yurt. It's just a covered, open-walled yurt, and that's where the band plays, and that's where we have registration. So that really adds a lot to the venue and has helped us out quite a bit. But as far as the weekend goes, I'm up there on Wednesday. So, come Thursday, I don't really advertise this much, but for Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt podcast listeners, I would love to see folks come up on Thursday and come up and camp out and, come pre-ride and, you can help me set up tents and I'll put you to work, but I'll also let you go ride a little bit too.
You heard it here first, folks. GRUSK opens to us on Thursday, friends.
And Wednesday night, I get up there and start setting things up, and we start marking course on Thursday. But the longer course riders are showing up on Wednesday night, and the first wave of the 3-day bike packing course riders go out. So that's really the start of a big extended weekend. Friday is when most people get there. I would say 90% of the folks start rolling in Friday afternoon, finding their campsites out in the meadows, or we do have some limited dorm space where they can, lay their pillow without bringing a tent, sleeping bag. then we usually try to have a little bit of entertainment Friday. The beer starts rolling. We open up the beer garden on Friday evening. So it's just really a big community atmosphere, people hanging out, sitting around a campfire if the weather's nice, waiting for the next day. Saturday's the big day. The riders start rolling out at 9 a.m., whatever their choice of courses. The rollouts are from 9 to 10:30, based on what mileage you're doing. And then when you get back, we have the beer garden open, so the taps are flowing. We usually have cider and some non-alcoholic choices for folks. Then the band starts, and we have an amazing band, and they keep coming back to GRUSK. And it is not easy to get to GRUSK, especially when you're bouncing around those dirt roads with really expensive amps and nice guitars, but they keep coming back. Last year's model is the band. They're a local band here in West Virginia, and they are amazing and knock everybody's socks off every year if you stay for the show. And I highly encourage people to stay for the show.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the ride, it's about the after party too.
Absolutely. Now, what's the food situation? I know that there's food that comes out. Are we repeating that again this year?
Yeah. We have the luxury of we have some really good cooks who work for that venue for experience learning at the Spruce Knob Mountain Center, and they make they started making lasagna a couple of years ago, and it's been such a hit with everyone that we have stuck to that. And they make a vegan option, and they also make a meat option. So I think everybody's happy. And we have salad and bread that goes along with that, and usually some type of dessert. And that's the post-ride meal. And they just keep serving until everybody's back.
Nice.
But we also have meal packages available for those coming in Friday. You can choose a Friday dinner, and if you're there camping, sign up for that meal plan. You got to sign up early because we close that because they have to know how much to order.
Sure.
So breakfast Saturday and Sunday mornings, and it's a pretty hearty breakfast. You'll get your $15 worth for sure.
Now, I know one thing about the venue is you can just leave your cell phone at home, because there's like no coverage, and there's this like there's this like teasing Wi-Fi. It's like, look, you can connect if you stand in the field with one leg up, and then you go through all of that and you get connected, and then nothing happens. So, and to be fair, it's a lot of people, and it's saturated networks. So don't get angry. Just bring
it is what it is.
Yeah. Bring your Starlink if it's that important to you. That's the way it is. Which I know for some folks that's a bit of an adjustment, but at the same time it's kind of refreshing in that complete and total disconnect.
Yeah,
it is kind of nice, and I actually like that. I like that ability to kind of be present and in the moment in a field with a bunch of your friends who are there, and like you mentioned the word earlier, the community that comes along with this event is really something special. It is really something special. So,
yeah, and that's the part that keeps me coming back and doing it. Really, definitely not. No one's getting rich off of promoting a bike race. Maybe Lifetime, but it's not the local guys. We do it for the love of the sport and for the community.
We've had this conversation before, Joey and I, and talked to other race directors. If it weren't for folks like you, and Dave and Alex and Chris and Pat and Matt, if it weren't for folks like you out there, you're not getting rich. But if you weren't taking the time to do this, we'd be lost. I really can't. We owe at the gravel community owes the small event director a tremendous debt of gratitude. For what you guys do, because you're right, nobody's getting rich off of this, and I'm sure there are headaches and all those things that go along, and risk as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The risk of what if nobody shows up, and the risk of what if everybody shows up and half of them get hurt. What happens? So there's all of those risks, and then there's weather and all of these things that can kind of get in your way. And I'm honestly amazed a lot of times that people continue to do it. So thank you, especially post-COVID. So thank you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. And my favorite part is meeting people like you and people like Alex and Chris and all the amazing people that come to it and just bring that energy. And my family, is a huge help in all this. So my brother and my wife and niece, I mean, they're just instrumental in making this happen. And then my crew of buddies, and I abuse them every year, and they keep coming back. And thank goodness
Yeah.
they get a T-shirt and maybe a sweatshirt, and I feed them.
That's
And they don't have to pay an
well.
entry fee.
You have clothed Joey and I for a very long time. I'm not sure I would make it through the spring or fall shoulder seasons without my GRUSK sweatshirt. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
keeps me warm and toasty.
I think I have 2 drawers full of those. I need to start handing them down.
All right. Well, let's talk about the distances. Do you want to start big and go small, or do you want to start small and go big?
Let's start small and go big.
Got it.
Yeah. So we try to cater to not quite people coming off the couch, but you don't have to have an amazing level of fitness to do our shortest route. And we have 2 short ones. One has a little more adventure, but the shortest route is 25 miles, and that's the direct out and back from the venue to the summit. The summit is a very substantial climb, but the grade is so manageable that I think anyone with even a halfway moderate level of fitness and a decent bike can make it up.
Right.
We've seen all types, and we encourage people just come out and take your time.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like it, just turn around and come back.
Yeah.
Come back and have a beer, have a piece of lasagna. And then for those a little more adventurous, there's a 2-mile grassy double track downhill that they can tack on to that short route that takes them down that scenic part and past Spruce Knob Lake and then back up to the venue. So that adds just a few miles, but it's really a lot more scenic and gives you the full tour of the upper mountain of Spruce Knob. So they're really getting the most bang for their buck there. And then we jump up to about 50, I think it's 55 miles, depending on your Garmin or your Strava. And that's really the sweet spot. That's probably my favorite route if you just want to go take a ride up in that area. That gets you to summit, that gets you the grassy double track downhill that you can rip when it's dry. But that also gets you an 8-mile downhill into the town of Whitmer. And it's down the Dry Fork Valley. And I named the segment years and years ago, 8 Mile Smile, because it's just 8 miles. And if you want to rip it, you can rip it. Or if you just want to coast, you can coast. And it's such an amazing downhill.
Can confirm. That is special.
Yeah, that's right. You've done that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then there's an aid station at the fire department when you get to Whitmer on that one. So, you're rewarded with some treats, and that'll send you back up the mountain and back to the venue. For all of our Saturday routes, which is our main day on the 13th, we send everybody to the summit first. We started doing that a few years ago just to avoid the electrical storms and some of the heavy traffic that we get up there on nice days. So, sometimes there's a little bit of fog, but last year it was beautiful and the heat hadn't set in. So you can really jam on that piece and have a really good day going up to the summit early on in the race.
I'll also add that I know that going up, Spruce Knob, you mentioned traffic. You can get a lot of people because they're not closed roads. There's people that want to drive their cars up to Spruce Knob to see these views that we're riding our bikes up to see. But I'm going to say this, and I don't know if it was because it was early in the day. Not only was it light, but it was also the cars were very respectful. The vehicle traffic, it was almost like they could tell that there was something going on. They didn't mind settling in and riding along behind some bikes for a while until they got to a place. And I don't know what the experience was overall, but I will say with the group that I rode with last year going up to the summit, it was really pleasant.
Yeah, and that's good to hear. And that was really the intent. A couple years, I think it was 2021, we had we always get some ex-professionals and folks come to GRUSK. And back when it was a race, we had some really racy folks who were in a group all the way to the end. And we had the summit at the end of the day.
Right.
And it was quite dangerous. And some of those guys, let me know it. And, there's not a lot I can do in the Mon National Forest. I can't stop traffic.
Right.
They won't let me do that as part of my permit, but it made me think about, the risk versus reward and, whether I should have that in the beginning of the race to avoid some of that. Because the last thing I want to do is make one of my buddies or somebody who needs to go home that night a hood ornament on someone's Jeep.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of decisions that, race promoters need to think about, on a yearly basis. And I think just making that one change really made a huge difference in our event, and those risks, because the rest of the Mon National Forest is really quiet. It's just that summit gets a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
But we kind of digress there. So back to the routes, if that's all right. After the 50, we have an 80-mile route, and that 80-mile route, it instead of going down that 8-mile smile downhill, it goes west, and that's on our western loop over toward the town of Glady, and then some really remote parts of the forest. Very remote.
That's Greenbank. That's Greenbank land. That's
it's headed, south toward Greenbank. Once you get on that, it's a big western loop, and there's a big valley in there, and you're going. I think you've ridden that. You rode it. I think last year on your tour that you did.
Yeah.
You were on a big piece of that. So
you mentioned the town of Glady. That there's not much of a town of Glady.
No, there's a church and a pavilion with a water faucet. And there's a phone booth there. So if you need to make a call on a phone booth, there's one in Glady. But that's about it. So that's where that 80-mile route goes, and the 105-mile route shares that. But when they come back, they hit that 8-mile downhill, and that's how they extend that extra mileage. And the difference between the 80 and the 100 isn't significant. It's only I think quote less than 2,000 feet of extra climbing. I think it may even be 1,500 feet of climbing for that extra 23 miles that you get, and it's not hard climbing. So if you want to knock out a century and have it be your first gravel century, that is a great one to try it out on.
Gotcha.
Well supported with aid stations too, so we'll take care of you. Just give it a whirl. You'll get the whole enchilada on that one. And then we jump up to our big routes, our 220 and 260 mile routes, and those were intended to be bike packing routes. But of course, there are just absolute animals out there in the cycling world who can do that, in far less than a day. So we've had, I think our 220 record was something under 16 hours. And there's some significant climbing. So it goes all the way down to Greenbank. So you're familiar with that, with the big radio observatory and the huge radio satellite dishes. And it goes, after it hits that southern point, it goes all the way to the town of Davis. Skirts Elkins and goes all the way to Davis and through Canaan Valley and then back to Spruce Knob. So it's a big undertaking. The 260-mile route just adds a little bit further south and goes through Seneca State Forest and through Cass on the way back. So you might get a chance to see the railroad that they have there and the excursion trains that are coming through that area.
Cass is a cool little town. I like
It's
Cass.
a really cool town. Yeah. I've been eyeing Cass for several years now. I just haven't had time in my schedule to pull the trigger to do some type of training camp or just fun camp over there preparation, because they have a lot of just old mining or logging camp houses that they renovated, and they're really cool.
It's interesting that they're the old house, but they've redone the inside.
Yeah,
it's modern kitchen and modern bathrooms, and it comes with modern ghosts as well. I do believe. I believe I've stayed in Cass in one of those little houses, and I'm
cool.
Not 100% sure there weren't some extra folks wandering around in that little Cass house, but just a wild little place with a great little the little, I guess, where you check in the little store, and it's got a little ice cream parlor, which is is super cool. Anyway, we keep digressing.
That's why we love Cass. Yeah, Cass is a neat little town. So, the longer course riders will see Cass, and that's some. If they want to make it a 3-day excursion, then they'll leave on Thursday. Those who actually want to, see what kind of time they can make on. It's not a race, but a lot of folks come out and they're just going for their own personal time.
Yeah.
They'll come out on Friday and just knock it out, so they can enjoy some of the party on Saturday after they've recovered a little bit. And this year, we're just waiting on the Forest Service to issue our permit. We're potentially going to have a 312-mile option. that
Wow.
will take the riders down to Marlinton. So even further south, down to Marlinton.
Now
Close to
they got an
Watsega.
IGA in Marlinton. That's a real town.
Marlinton's a legit town. They're incorporated. They have a mayor. It's a real deal.
They also have a Dairy Queen. One of the things that I do, I'm also I take people fishing. I'm a fishing guide. And last year when I did Allegheny, it was about 2 weeks. I'd taken a guy out fishing, and then it was a couple weeks later I was on that Allegheny mountain strip. I walked into the Dairy Queen in Marlinton, and the guy that I had taken fishing on my creek is standing at the counter ordering ice cream in the Dairy Queen in Marlinton. I looked at him like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, there's smallmouth over there at the Greenbrier." And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
"God, a small world." But
yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of
Marlinton.
good fishing in that area.
Oh yeah,
Marlinton's a big fishing town, and it's
yeah,
close to Snowshoe, so it's one of the East's biggest ski resorts.
yeah.
So it gets a lot of traffic. Marlinton's a nice place. So we're fingers crossed on that. Our permits are. We're waiting on private land approval for the Blackwater Canyon. Those who are familiar with West Virginia have probably heard the news. Allegheny Wood Products, they're a large logging company and wood product company.
Okay.
They've closed down this year and they're trying to sell their operation, but they control half of the Blackwater Canyon. And the Forest Service owns the upper half. So it's always presented a little bit of a challenge. But I made quick friends with one of the administrative folks who work for AWP, and I treated her nice and she treated me nice and always gave me my permit, so I was able to use that during the longer courses. Those are in the 200+ mile courses, but this year we're waiting with fingers crossed. A lot of people have hopefully temporarily lost their job due to this. So, our heart goes out to them. Bike racing in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, or a bike ride is not a big deal when you're looking at things like that. And we have reroute options, but that's just one of the things that we're waiting on before the permit gets finalized, just to see what our options will be there. Still, we have lots of good options, just might not be able to use the Blackwater Canyon Trail this year.
Okay. How many people do you have on the 220, the 260, and if it happens, the 312? I mean, what kind of
Yeah,
numbers?
so last year it was um, just over 40, I think, definitely less than
Wow.
50. Yeah, quite a few, and I think it's picked up a little bit this year. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I choose to get an email every time someone registers because it makes me feel good. Uh, and I've seen a lot of people sign up for the 220 and 260 mile routes.
Nice,
And
nice.
so, it's gaining in popularity. And a lot of folks are just wanting to bike pack it. They've
Hmm.
heard how pretty it is, and the course is designed around towns to resupply and restock. So
Right.
I think the word's getting out that it's a pretty good option for bike packers.
And you do even have an aid station for them as sort of neutral
Hmm.
support at one point along the way, don't you? Yeah, did I see
Yeah,
that right?
yeah, I have a couple. So the folks at the observatory, they'll put some snacks out, and you can go into their visitor center, and they open up a little bit early
Cool.
for the crew. But also in Davis, the folks at Blackwater Bikes in Davis, they'll leave if they're open. Roll on in, and they'll treat you well, and they'll feed you, and they have some food, and or they'll, if it's after hours, they'll have a cooler with some food that is on
Nice.
their back porch, and it's available as neutral support. And also Still Hollow Spirits. That's the shirt I'm wearing that you can see, but the rest of the people in podcast land cannot. But they're a small distillery in the town of Job.
Okay.
That's on the way to Spruce Knob, at least on my way in. So they're really great people, and they allow me to drop some supplies off as neutral support for those longer course riders.
So there's lots of opportunities then for folks to it is self-supported, but there's lots of opportunities for them to make sure that they've got. Sometimes timing is weird, you know. You come into a
Yeah,
place and something's
absolutely.
closed, and you were depending upon it for water, and now all of a sudden it's not there anymore. So those kind of things happen. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we try to take care of them because there are some spots, especially on the way back from Davis. Once you leave Davis, the resupply points are pretty limited. So,
gotcha.
but folks tend to they plan ahead, and the folks coming to riding those distances, I say for the most part, they know what they're up against and they
Okay.
know how to pack.
Okay. Right. Well, yeah. Yeah, I think if you're out there doing that 220 to the 260, you've educated yourself somewhere along the line on what it's going
Yeah,
to
I
take
think.
to get you from point A to point B. So how is registration? Are numbers good, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, yeah, numbers are great. We're right around 260, high 250s, I think, as of yesterday when I last checked.
Okay.
So numbers, um, that's on pace. Um, I think we're about 100 more than where we were at this time last year.
Outstanding.
And last year was our best year. So I think the word's getting out. And, I think it's, a lot of credit goes to this podcast and you and
Oh,
Joey representing things, and
we ain't
and
done much.
Alex and Chris do a really good job getting the word out about GRUSK.
I
Those
know
dirty kitten folks,
we twisted a
they
lot
do
of
a good job.
arms down at Croatan Campfire. A lot of those folks. We twisted a lot of arms. I think you may see some of those folks if they haven't signed up already. I know they are going to. So where can
Yeah,
people find more information on GRUSK? I want to get to Italy. So where can people find more information on GRUSK?
yeah, GRUSK, bikereg.com/GRUSK.
Okay,
Pretty simple.
easy.
That's the registration site, and there's more information at our website, which is www.mountainrides.net.
Okay, I'm gonna have
Those
links,
are the two best places to find information about our event.
and I'll have links in the show notes for people. They can go and click on the
Awesome.
thing instead of having to remember that and type that in. All right, let's switch gears and talk about you're racing the Tour de France this year. Is that what I understand is happening?
I am. Yeah, I got picked up by a small team who needed an overweight guy to be last.
So you've
So
done
no, we.
you've done some trips in Europe in the past, and this one is in Italy that is going to coincide with Tour de France. I'm gonna let you kind of walk through the vision of what this trip is.
Okay. Um, so yeah, well, my wife and I have, we've been trying to get to Italy a couple times a year, and several years ago, we were over there in the spring for the Strada Bianchi gravel. It's the white roads of Italy that starts in Siena, and we met an amazing tour operator there who runs Italy bike tours, and we've become very fast friends with him and his crew. So we went back the next year and took 6 people with us and went back to the Strada Bianchi and rode the Gran Fondo, watched the pro race the day before, and did some touring around the area in Tuscany for several days, and went up to the Lake District and cycled around the lakes for a couple more days before coming home. And that really opened our eyes about just the beauty of Italy and the gravel that they have over there, and just it's something different.
Sure.
Italy's the food's amazing, the riding's amazing, and and we're being guided by ex-professional cyclists that have ridden the big tours, and that's pretty cool too. So you
Oh,
can kind of bend their ear as you can ask them all the questions, and they're more than happy to tell you about all the good, the bad, the ugly of being a pro tour rider, and it's pretty eye-opening.
that's really cool. That's
It
something you're
is.
not going to find just anywhere. The ability to kind of have that, and you're with them for what? How many days do you ride?
So for this tour coming up, it will be 7 days of riding.
Wow.
And even more exposure to the crew than that, because they pick you up at the airport, and then they're stuck in a van with us. The tourists coming over, so they can't get away when we have a million questions about their career and how it works, and all the fun things that they want to talk to you about Italy.
Yeah, I know what that looks like a little bit. Not Italy,
Yeah,
not
I bet
Italy,
you do.
but
Yeah.
I know what that environment kind of looks like. So that's cool. Um, what can people expect out of the trip? What is it? How does it logistically work? Like, what's the week look like for folks that sign up to go with you to Italy? Because it's the grand depart of the Tour de France is in Italy, and
Yeah.
it's going to coincide
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest takeaway. I think before we get into the tour itself, this is this is a really unique I won't say once in a lifetime, but it's an incredibly rare opportunity that the Tour de France, which is in France, obviously, is starting in Italy. It's starting in Florence and going up to Bologna and then over to Turin in the mountains in the Alps for the first three stages before heading back over to France. And I think they've been doing that for the past three, maybe even longer. For several years. They try to showcase another country to start a couple stages of the tour in. So we had the opportunity through our tour operator. He gave me a call and said, "Hey, why don't you bring a group over? We'll hold some spots for you, and it's going to be an amazing tour. And it's really curated just for a small group. So we'll fly into Florence. That's where our guides will meet us, and we'll head to the hotel that first day and start building bikes, and maybe go for a quick shakeout ride just to make sure the bikes are good and get the cramped airplane legs moving again."
Now, are people bringing their own bikes, or are they providing
That's a great
bikes,
question.
or is it a combination?
It's a combination.
Okay.
You absolutely have the ability to travel with your own bike, but they have really nice Colnago bikes with electronic shifting they were brand new last year when we went with them. And so they have really high end bikes, or they have the 3T Exploro gravel bikes. So if you rent a bike, you're getting a really good bike. And then you have, professional cyclists to help you with your bike fitting.
Oh yeah, perfect.
People I like having my own bike, but I don't want to travel with it. I can make do with a rental bike for, a couple,
Sure.
couple hundred miles for the week.
And what's the total distance for the week that you would actually be riding?
So I knew you were going to ask that, and it's 288 miles.
Okay.
Total distance for the week, with a total ascent of just over 17,000 feet. So it's not crazy, and it's split up pretty good. We have some big days, but there's a SAG van that has snacks in it. So if you're not feeling it that day, you can ride in the van. But the cool thing about this company is you can rent an e-bike for any of this. And that's really what has opened up some of these tours to folks who don't cycle as much, or maybe you're just not in the best fitness that you want to be and think you're going to be off the back on one of these trips. Rent an e-bike. There's no shame in it. And we had some folks rent e-bikes last year, and these people didn't bike much at all, except for maybe some rail trail. And, they were obviously just pulling away from me on climbs. And, that opens up to a whole new, group of folks to come enjoy a tour like this.
Can you mix it up a little bit? Can you say, what, I would like to ride this bike, but then maybe the next day I'm not feeling it, I'm jumping on an e-bike? And
It depends. I think when their headquarters is up around the lakes. So when we're up around that area, I think that option would present itself. But when we're down in Tuscany, they just don't have the room in their vehicles to carry two bikes for every person.
Now, the tour, are you going from place to place, or is it a central location that you move out from?
So with this one, because we're following the first three stages of the tour, we'll be, staying in one hotel for 2 nights, watching the Grand depart, seeing all the racers sign in.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then riding out ahead of the tour itself and getting a good spot to spectate. And then after they go through, we'll finish our tour and stay near Bologna on that I think it's the third night of the tour. So to answer your question, we'll be skirting around a little bit for this tour, just because it's so focused on the Grand depart in those first 3 stages. But then we'll end the tour up around the lakes, around Lake Iseo, and we'll be in that hotel, I think, for 2 or 3 nights, and we'll just ride out of that central location to give people a little home base before we have to travel home.
Got it. And I'm looking at the daily mileage. Day 1, 16, then 46, 43, 27, 31, 55, 68. You know what I like about that is it looks like there's plenty of opportunity to do other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of it. You kind of play hard in the morning, and in the afternoon and then you have time to, go sightsee, or, go find yourself a gelato shop, or a wine tour. They really cater to, the needs of the group, and, the
That's
will of
great.
the group. And they really open this up. So if you're not a rider at all, they'll have things for you to do. So that's what's really cool. That allows you to bring a spouse or a significant other, on this trip, and they won't be bored. There are plenty of things to do, in Italy. You could just eat your way through this tour if you wanted to. It's a really cool opportunity. So that's why we decided to open it up. And we have some spots left on this one. We take off the last part of June and get back July 3rd, just in time for the 4th. And then we have a week before GRUSK. So it
Mm.
puts it's a little bit close for us, but since this is such a unique opportunity, we didn't want to pass it up and pass up the chance to be, part of this really neat, Tour de France Grand Depart, in Italy.
Now tell me, what's included? What's the price point? What's included, and what's extra?
So the price point is, just over $3,700.
Oh,
Um,
that's you don't even have to go any further. That's very affordable for what you're doing and what you're getting here.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, the folks at Italy Bike Tours did us a huge favor, since we're returning guests, and, gave us a really good deal. Because
Yeah.
if you look around at to the other big companies, Trek Travel and some of those others, it's several $1,000s more for something similar. So that $3,700, that gets you 8 days, 7 nights. Most meals, so, breakfast and dinners. Sometimes, if we're out, you might have to pick up a lunch or a snack when we're on a ride, or if you just want to go do your own thing,
Okay.
during a stop during the day. But that includes, the Tour de France team presentation, highly experienced guides, showing you around Italy and giving you some of the history of the places that we're in. Um, Hotel, airport transfer. So they'll pick us up right at the airport and take us to the hotel, and then drop us back off. Non-riders are welcome on this. And we get 3 stage viewings of the Tour de France, which is
Wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you've never had a chance to, a lot of folks got to go to Richmond when the World, Championship race was in Richmond. So it's like that, but I've never been to the Tour de France, but I just from TV, it just looks like a crazy fun time.
Wow. Yeah. Right on. Right on. Now, what about the bike? If you needed to rent a bike, that's obviously additional, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Okay.
the bike's additional. Um, some other things that are additional are just, little nuts and bolts that are customary with most tours.
Sure.
So airfare is not included. So you have to arrange your own airfare, which it's not crazy expensive, but you can expect around 1,000 to $1,200, round trip to get to Florence, and we fly out of Milan.
Okay.
So you get mechanical support. You get a gift bundle, so they give you some really nice gifts. You get a nice Italy Bike Tours jersey. That's part of that. A hat, usually, and some socks. They kit you out pretty well, for the tour. Um,
And you're staying
and
in you're,
and
you're staying in hotels. You're not camping in a plastic tent.
no, not at all. I mean, and yeah, and your bags are taken to your room. So really, all you have to do is just, go change and enjoy Italy while you're there.
That's super cool. That is
Yeah.
super cool. Um, what is the date? Obviously, you can go to the website mountainrides.net, click on the Italy Tours tab. You'll find out all this information. You can click that button and click reserve, which everybody's going to want to do. How many spots do you have?
I have 6 remaining spots.
Jump on it, folks. Jump on
Yeah,
it. The
yeah.
opportunity to see the Tour de France in Italy and be taken care of so well. That's not an opportunity that comes along every day. So I would say folks should jump on this. That's great, Travis. Great job putting together a fantastic trip.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're
That's
we're looking forward to it.
um, anything else? Let's see. I'm just flipping through the page now to make sure that I don't miss anything. He did a great job covering all of it. My daughter spent some time in Florence with her husband and baby last summer, and
Oh,
came back
cool.
and just absolutely. They spent an entire week just in Florence, and just came back from it just so enamored with that city. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
go to Florence. So
Yeah.
um,
Florence is, it's one of our, we haven't traveled much in the southern part of Italy, but Florence is one of our favorite spots.
Roger, Roger,
Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, thanks for letting me talk about that. It's not
absolutely.
really mid-Atlantic gravel. It's mid-Italian gravel, travel, and dirt.
Well, let's talk about Pennsylvania now, because you and I are
Oh yeah,
collaborating on a Pennsylvania gravel weekend that's going to take place at June 5th through June 9th up in Canton, Pennsylvania. It does not have the allure, I think, of the Tour de France, but it certainly is some nice accommodations and also, again, some affordable pricing. I was pretty excited when, I'm doing one weekend with you, and I'm doing another weekend collaborating with Alex and Chris over at Dirty Kitten. Your weekend is that big GRUSK Pennsylvania takeover. We need all those West Virginia folks or friends of West
yeah.
Virginia to invade Pennsylvania in a friendly kind of a way and see what Pennsylvania has to offer. Not like in days of old. We're just going to go in there kindly and
That's right. We're all going to get along, but we're
uh,
definitely going across the border, and we're going to see what this PA gravel is all about.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you asked me, so I think it was just through a text. Hey, any interest in doing a PA gravel takeover? And it was not even much thought. I was like, absolutely. But let me check with Raquel to see if she wants to come along too.
Yes, yeah, I remember that. It was like a 15-minute delay. Well, you had to get the green light. So we're
It's like,
doing
oh,
4 nights, 5 days, 4 nights at this beautiful historic bed and breakfast. And again, just like in Italy, we were going to have guides, myself being one of them, and my good friend and co-worker and co-leader Donna. We're going to be working this together. We're doing stocked kitchens for breakfast and lunches. We're doing catered dinners. You're on your own for dinner one night. It's interesting, and I want to make sure that people understand this, that the breakfasts and lunches, well, we're going to stock the kitchen. They're self-prepared. So you can make your day. And I think
good.
that's kind of one of the things that's unique. It is a beautiful, very large bed and breakfast on 30 acres with a pond to go swimming in. So make sure you bring your swim trunks and jump off the dock, so to speak. And
Done.
it's just such a unique thing. We're going to have support on the roads. We've got 4 days of riding, or yeah, 4 days of riding. We're going to do a shakedown ride on the first day of just 16 miles. We're going to go up into Tioga State Forest. And I'm working again, like you have, to work with the state folks and the forest people and the game lands people. Tioga State Forest has been very amenable. The state game lands, I'm working around turkey season. So
Oh,
for
oh yeah.
the West Virginia weekend, we have no issues and no concerns. We're going to move forward as we originally intended, but we are going to shuffle some days around on the women's weekend so that we can avoid the game lands during turkey season. Even though we only kind of dip into the game lands, really, just for a small little piece. So that first day, 16 miles and 1,700 feet. The second day, 33 miles and 3,200 feet. The third day, 41 miles and 3,500 feet. And then day four, 49 miles and 4,600 feet. It's hard to avoid that 100 feet per
Yeah.
mile. I think West Virginia has the same thing.
I think, yeah, you can't walk out the door here without cycling 100 feet per mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly similar, and it's not that bad. Yeah, that's really reasonable.
And it's some beautiful, beautiful gravel. And I've got some new photos that Eric sent me of them. I'm going to send them to you, and I'm going to start posting those as well. The majority, I think I'm at around 82% of the routes, in totality, are gravel.
Wow, that's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, and it's either state forest or game lands or this really beautiful rolling farmland that heads east out of Canton, Pennsylvania. Should be perfect timing for the weather. I believe that late May, early June, Should be just absolutely perfect. Our pricing, we've missed the early bird. Early bird window has closed, but only raised the rates about $200. I think we're starting for single occupancy somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,600 a person.
Oh wow, yeah, that's great.
So I'm excited about it. It is filling up, so people need to kind of jump on it if they're thinking about it, because the space is very, very limited. And I'm excited to get the opportunity to kind of spend an extended period of time with you, Travis.
Oh yeah, me too. Because usually I'm running around so much at GRUSK that we don't get to hang out. So I'm really looking forward to this.
It's going to be a very, very unique weekend. Lots of riding, lots of opportunities for shortcuts for folks. We're e-bike friendly, so bring your e-bikes.
Oh, perfect.
Absolutely e-bike friendly, without any qualms. Easy ways to cut sections off if you want to make your day a little shorter. We're going to have all those reroutes in the routes. I don't have them in there now, but we're going to have all sorts of little cut throughs, because most of our routes are contained loops, and it's very easy to pinch that loop off and cut some days short.
That's smart.
Yeah, so it's going to be just a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the opportunity to enjoy the beautiful lodge. The pictures don't do it justice.
No, it looks amazing.
Yes.
I mean, I can't wait to check that out.
60.
I mean, just the pool table and the leather furniture, and it makes you want to just hang out with a glass of bourbon after a ride and relax. It's so inviting.
I've sat in those leather sofas and done exactly that.
I can't wait.
10 out of 10 can recommend, and we'll do again without any question. It's just such a beautiful, relaxing environment. And I'm really excited for this to come together. And,
me too.
And make it happen, and just have the opportunity to. There's lots of opportunities for sort of downtime, off bike time, in this beautiful place. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about all these West Virginia people coming into Pennsylvania and seeing what that Pennsylvania thing's all about. Or you don't have to be. You don't have to be from West Virginia. Yeah. You be a friend of West Virginia. Be from anywhere.
Colorado. Yeah, we would just love to show you Pennsylvania.
And you have been so generous as well, in that if you come to the weekend, not only do you get to enjoy the weekend, but you're going to get your entry into GRUSK included with coming to the weekend. So basically, if you're thinking about doing GRUSK, and if you're listening to this episode, and we've been talking for almost an hour, Travis, if you're intending to come to GRUSK, you're losing money right now if you do not actually sign up for this Pennsylvania trip, because
that's exactly right.
You're losing money. You're losing money. Now, I did try to get you, and it didn't go over too well. I wanted an Italy trip included, and you said no to that. You said no to that.
I'll see what I can do for you, Brian.
You're a smart man. You're a smart man. No, I said everybody who's coming to the Pennsylvania Gravel Weekend would automatically get an Italy trip, but it's just that didn't work out. That doesn't work out.
I'll win that Powerball. That'll happen.
Oh, that's tonight. There's a big one tonight, right? Well, listen, Travis. Let's do some this or that, and then, like I said, this is going to be a long episode, but that's fine, because we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered a lot of geography. A lot of geography. Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Spruce Knob, Italy. I mean, it's all here. It's all there. So it's just me and you. Our first item on this week's This or That, and you had to see it coming. You had to see this one coming. West Virginia, Pennsylvania.
It's got to be West Virginia.
I
would run out if I didn't say West Virginia. But I do love Pennsylvania.
I actually hate doing this. I hate putting states up against each other, because but I keep doing it. I always come back to it, because this is kind of a natural one. I'm not going to pick either one of them. I'm going to say Westlvania. Let's glom them together and just make it a thing. That'll work.
We call it West Pennsylvania.
Perfect. There it is. Let's leave it right at that. Neither one of them. We're all friends. Now, this or that, we went through some graphical iterations, because I was playing with ideas about how to create the vision of what the weekend was going to be. And I created one image that was a little dark. And a lot of people said, no, Brian, you've gone way too dark. So then I went a little lighter and a little bit more comical, and that was the direction that we went. But now I'm going to throw them out there as a this or that. Mothman or Moonshine?
Oh, I'm going to go with Mothman. I love my cryptids. Definitely.
Nice, nice. So you could go on our Instagram and see both of the graphics for this. That Mothman graphic is legit.
It is.
It is spooky, but oh man, and
That's what makes me look over my shoulder when I'm like biking at night.
yeah,
That kind of thing. Yep.
yeah,
It's pretty creepy.
yeah. I'm gonna go with that Mothman as well.
Yeah.
Now, folks, I'll do this in the pre-show, but the reason that I missed last week is because the COVID bug finally caught up with me. Would you rather do today's COVID, not 2019, 2020 COVID, but today's COVID or a very bad flu? It's probably not a good this or that, is it?
Well, it depends. So, like stomach flu, or what kind of flu are we talking about? Because that has
Worst flu you've ever had. Worst flu you've ever had.
You know, I need a jump start to lose some weight for the season, so I'm going to take an intestinal flu, and I'm going to try to lose 20 pounds. So I'm going flu over COVID.
I am probably going to get some flack over this, and this is probably a very, very poor, not in good taste, this or that. But I'll go with today's COVID because I felt horrible for like a day and a half, and then it just turned into kind of like a cold. It was really bad though. That first day, it was just really run down and tired and just kind of miserable. And there was definitely no opportunity for you and I to have this conversation last week. It would have been, Travis, go talk. I'll hit start and stop, and then I'll see you later. Would you rather wax your chain or lube the chain? This is a shout out to one of your sponsors.
So we're going to lube it with wax is what we're going to do. So, that's kind of how Squirt cycling product rolls. They have that liquid waxy lube that they have, and it's amazing. Now, they treat it well, and it treats our bike chains well.
Tell me, with that Squirt, do you have to, I know when you wax a chain, you have to strip it down, clean it off, so you don't have to do that with that application of, you probably want to clean the chain, obviously, just like you would normally.
Yeah.
But you
don't need to put it in a cleaner or use any kind of heavy solvents or some kind of sonic cleaner on it to get it perfectly clean. It's not like a dip wax.
Okay.
It's just it's really almost a daily use kind of water-based lubricant, and it works really well, even in dry and super wet conditions. We've had good luck with it.
Because I still have a bottle or two of Squirt that I got in my packet, and I actually wanted to ask this question because of that. I didn't know whether I needed to, if I wanted to try that, if I needed to strip the chain down completely, like what? Because I've done the waxed chain thing, and while it is pleasant, it's so much work.
It is, and I don't count watts anymore. I never did really, but I'm not waxing my chain to save 5 watts or whatever it is. That is way too much work. Well, I want to go ride.
What I liked about it is that it just didn't get as dirty. It was, it stayed clean, and that was what I appreciate. It wasn't never I'm like with you. There was never a performance issue. It was just, it just always looked good. It always looked good. And
I can see that. Yep.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it is about time to shut this thing down for the week. Travis, one more time, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for being so patient. We were supposed to talk last week and pushed it off till this week, so I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and tell Joey I said hi. And
I will. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. If you've enjoyed the podcast, maybe consider joining our Patreon family. Get that sticker of the month because they are fire. You're getting yours, right, Travis?
Every month. I love it.
Nice. They've been a lot of fun, and I've got some pretty unique designs that are in the works for the next few months. You'll have to just wait and see on that, folks. If you're looking to get in touch with us, graveltraveldirt.com, Instagram at MidAtlanticGTD. Travis, if folks are looking to get in touch with you, how could they find you?
www.mountainrides.net, or send us a message on GRUSK, Instagram, or Facebook.
Mid-Atlantic Gravel Travel and Dirt is recorded this week from all the way out in West Virginia to right here in my closet. Thanks for riding along, everybody. Until next time, do good, be nice, go slow, respect others. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.